Hi everybody, welcome back to Tunes Reviews. Today we're going to talk about the ridiculously overhyped, overplayed, almost on the same level as Aventus hype fragrance Baccarat Rouge 540 by Maison Francis Kurkdjian. And let's start off with a presentation. So we have the outer layer box, which you then have to get to this box here in order to get to this bottle here, where you then take the cap off and you do a little spritz. All right, so MFK bottles, they all look gorgeous. They're all the same. They all spray well. The sprayer, the cap, the presentation is all beautiful, gorgeous, etc. MFK and his line does wonderfully in that regard. Now, for me, I first connected with MFK way back 10 years ago when I picked up his fragrance Lumiere Noir Pour Homme. And that fragrance is a wonderful spicy rose fragrance that I had gone through my 70 ml bottle, and I never actually picked up another bottle when I finished that one. But that one was my first one from the line. And today, Grand Soir is actually my favorite from MFK. But where does Baccarat Rouge 540 lie? What does this fragrance do? I think, for me, Baccarat Rouge 540 was a fragrance that I was kind of combative with, and in the sense of people would recommend it to me and I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to like it because the hipster in me tends to not enjoy fragrances that are overly hyped in the fragrance forums or groups. Things like Ultra Male, Aventus, they don't wow me. Aventus was a fragrance where when I owned my first bottle and then purchased my second bottle, I went through those two bottles in literally 2 years. And when it first came out, I absolutely adored it. But at this point now, I've had my third bottle that I've owned of Aventus for over 4 years, and it's only halfway through the bottle. When you have a fragrance that's been hyped to death, and then we have clone after clone after clone, I take issue with smelling like everybody else when the whole point of this hobby is to enjoy what we smell and to be unique and different. I tend to like things that are a little bit more interesting and non-linear in that sense. But with Aventus, for example, it took a few years for there to be clones that would come out. With Baccarat Rouge 540, the marketing professionals, the people who make fragrances for people, celebrities, for houses like Ariana Grande's Cloud that we saw MFK smelling very similar to. That fragrance came out very, very soon after 540 was released. So we see that fragrance houses are now copying things that are doing very well for themselves pretty quickly. And I think Baccarat Rouge 540 is very similar to Aventus in that way, where it had a lot of commercial success, and there are going to be a lot of fragrances that are going to be imposing on its success by trying to create their own version or being direct duplicates or replicants of the fragrance and its DNA. Now, that all being said, Baccarat Rouge 540 does its job, okay? Do I think that this is worth the price point? Well, Baccarat Rouge 540 cannot be robbed of this thing and this thing alone, and that is its complement factor. If you are going into purchasing Baccarat Rouge 540 with the expectation that it's going to be a wonderful bar hopping fragrance that is going to get you laid. Not really though, because you got to be the whole package. But it's going to do its job in the sense that you're going to get a lot of compliments, no matter if you're shy or outgoing or whatever, because people just love this stuff. In my experience, this is in the top 5 most complimented fragrances I've ever owned in the history of time. That doesn't mean that I love it. You'll see what I think at the very end of this video, but it cannot be robbed of the fact that this stuff performs when it comes to people enjoying the sillage that it radiates, the burnt sugar, ambery, aroma that it projects may as well be a pheromone, okay? This thing is beast mode when it comes to compliments, and it's beast mode when it comes to performance. This is one of the only fragrances in the history of my journey where I've tried anything from $5 to, a couple grand that has lasted from 8 in the morning when I put it on until the very next morning, and it smells exactly the same exact projection, same exact everything. Insanity, okay? Insanity. And for that, it gets good marks. If a fragrance is pleasant and it gets compliments and it does its job and it performs like that, you can't rob it of its positive marks when it comes to that kind of stuff. Now, when it comes to originality, that's where this stuff lacks. I will say that obviously a lot of that originality has been stripped away because there's been copycats of it already. However, its linear and transparent composition that it has does warrant marks taken away, because it is literally from start to finish, it is burnt sugar with slight amber, and that is all I get. That is all I get. It is nothing groundbreaking. If you smelled Aquilina, Blue Man, or Blue Sugar, that's what it is, Blue Sugar, then you have a pretty good idea of what's going on here conceptually. It's not identical to that fragrance, and of course, with the raw materials and all that kind of stuff that MFK is using in his line, clearly this is going to be a better creation in that regard, but it still cannot be dismissed that it is a very similar composition. That being said, okay, I have used at least 5 to 10 ml of my 70 ml bottle here in the last 3 months or so. I've owned this bottle for 3 months, and I tested it for about a year. If you guys know me, you know that I like to test things for at least 6 months to a year, because there are fragrances out there that people don't tell you work well in like the heat, that are not marketed for that kind of temperature that I love, like Musk Ravageur and Tuscan Leather, for example. I actually prefer in the summer heat, and like when it's scorching, okay? I think Musk Ravageur is the absolute pinnacle of beauty when I am like humid and drenched in sweat and it's 95 and my skin is cooking. It smells freaking seductive as hell. So I like to cover all my bases when it comes to that kind of thing, just so I can kind of recommend what I enjoy. I might like something way better and it smells way different on your skin in the fall versus what it is in the summer or spring. So here we are. I've tested this stuff out. I listened to all the hype. I listened to people go on and on from these last few waves of fragrance reviewers about how this is a panty dropper, how this is a magic potion, how it's going to get you women or men or whatever it is that you're interested in sexually as for a partner. And my conclusion is this, okay? I find that MFK is usually a 9 out of 10 creator. What I mean by that is most of his fragrances are at least a 9 out of 10 in my book. This fragrance in particular, because of its high price point, so retail 70 ml goes for $300. And I don't care if you're making $300 a paycheck or $30,000 a paycheck. $300 is atypical. Unless you are reviewing fragrances and enjoy it as a hobby the way we do, most consumers consider spending over $100 American on a fragrance to be ridiculous. So, $300 is a lot of cheddar, okay? No matter what, no matter how you spin it, no matter how much you've got in your bank account. So, $300 better be projected in the quality and the presentation of the fragrance that you're getting. Now, for me, again, MFK has one of the most simplistic yet beautiful, elegant presentations there are on the market today. It's as simple as that. The cap, I don't believe this one is in particular, because this one does not look like the rest of the line, but I know that he used to use some mineral or whatever from his hometown for the cap. So even the cap in the bottle told a story, which is exactly what you should be getting from a fragrance line, a niche fragrance line, especially one that's in this price bracket. Yeah, we're playing tennis now. One that's in this price bracket. So when you're talking $300 for a fragrance, it has to reflect that in the juice inside and in the presentation. So presentation, 10 out of 10, no problem there. Now the fragrance itself, okay. Let me first tell you that I got my bottle for $180 American for a full bottle, sealed. If you can get this fragrance between $150 and $200 American, then I think it is well worth what you're getting. This stuff is not going to be the next in your wardrobe for formal occasions. It is not going to be the next thing that you're going to want to pull out for a wedding or a job interview or something like that, okay? It's not classy in that way in my mind. But if you want another fragrance in your wardrobe that is youthful, sensual, and going to get you noticed, look no further. I have never in my life, okay, experienced a fragrance that has done much better than this. And if I was to compare this to things that have done just as well, we're talking things in the realm of like New Harlem by Bond No. 9, okay, which is a freaking god when it comes to compliments, or Millesime Imperial, something like that, where literally those fragrances were built to allure people and make sure that people were swooning over them. Same concept here. That being said, okay, the absolute monstrosity that this fragrance is when it comes to its performance is hitting it out of the park. And so the performance and the presentation are freaking 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10. It doesn't, whatever you want to call it. However, the transparency, the linear effect of how unoriginal this fragrance comes off on skin, again, in the sense that you've smelled things like this before, and it is exactly how it plays out on skin from beginning to end. It is the exact same. I tend to find that this fragrance can be a little underwhelming at times, and I have never experienced in my life a fragrance where I've gone back and forth on how much I either like or dislike it in such a small amount of time. Aventus has come close because, again, I loved that when I first got it, and then in the last couple of years I've completely fallen out of love with it, essentially because of the horse shit revolving around how it's the best fragrance ever, and that's just so ridiculously untrue. It's not even funny, in my opinion. And this is kind of making its way into that realm of hype and ridiculous comments and whatever is revolving around it, and the culture revolving around this, and the fans revolving around this is less to be desired in my personal opinion. That is not why I got into this hobby. So that kind of stuff puts a bad taste in my mouth, and I'm just being honest with you. Call me a hipster, call me ridiculous, whatever you want. I'm just me. I'm Tim, and I've always kept it real. When I tell you something bothers me, I'm being honest, and I'm got to be honest about why this fragrance is going to lose points, and it's because it's the next Aventus. It's not original enough for me, and I think MFK has at least 3 or 4 other creations in his line that do seductive better and are way more complex and warrant their price points. This does not warrant a price point of over $200 retail. This is, after taxes and stuff, this is like $320, $350, maybe a little bit more for a 70 ml bottle. That to me is a little overkill, and I couldn't see warranting a purchase for this particular composition for that much money. So all that being said, I really thoroughly enjoy Baccarat Rouge 540. In the last year, the journey that I've had with it, I'm telling you right now, I've had probably more compliments with that stuff than just about anything else I can think of off the top of my head. And again, it'd be in the same vein as something like Uden or Millesime Imperial or New Harlem when it comes to that kind of compliment factor. It's up there with them. It's a giant when it comes to that kind of stuff in performance. But that's just not enough for me. I personally do not enjoy this kind of fragrance that much anymore. Its simplicity, its overly loud call for attention. I would much prefer something a little bit more complex. And for that, I'm going to give this a still solid 8 out of 10. I hope you are all doing well. I hope you're all safe out there. I hope you're all maintaining your happiness. And we will be out of this shortly, I hope. And I hope that you're all having a lovely evening. And I will talk to you all soon. Till next time.